Whether you like to fish way offshore for groupers or near shore for ling, we have the rigs and techniques you'll need at the workbench to make you a better fisherman. So get your gear loaded up and check your drags, because it's time for the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Thanks for joining us back on the Texas Insider Fishing Report after a fun-filled weekend on the water, we hope, with the Mamas. We're your hosts, Brie Gabrielle and Captain Rick Murphy, along with your captains and guides from all over Texas that have some pre-summertime reports to give. Rick, can you believe we're halfway through May already?
I can't believe it. How was your Mother's Day?
It was beautiful. We spent it on the water, and I got a t-shirt made, little handprints, and a dolphin on the front. It was really cute. It was great.
We'll talk about it in the first break.
Okay,
I can't wait to hear.
Sounds good. All right, well, Dave Ferrell has some things to share with us today at the CCA workbench, don't you, Dave?
Oh, yeah. Mother's Day was special for me. I got my wife a nice present. She goes, I ain't your mama. Which, you know, is pretty par for the course at the Ferrell household.
Well, you're Dave Ferrell, so she probably is your mama, too.
Oh, yeah.
She cleans up after you.
Exactly.
All right, getting us into the weekend fishing spirit is, of course, the Garmin Lower Coast Region Captain Chad Kinney with some fun inshore-offshore news. Hey, Chad.
Hey, stuff's going good. We've had some wacky weather here, but the forecast looks pretty good for the weekend, and we still got some good fishing here, even with the weather going on. The trout fishing been holding really good here. Got a long stretch here, but basically from the land cut all the way down to Green Island out of Port Mansfield here. So you can reach out from Corpus Christi from the north side heading south, or down here from Mansfield to Arroyo City. Live croaker right now is really working the best right now. We got some higher tides, higher winds. Winds are changing throughout the day with some of these scattered showers, so the bait's working better on that stuff. Use a chatter weight, attach to that, maybe about 18, 20 inch. Go down with a 25 to 30 pound fluorocarbon leader with a 5-aught hook. If you got some smaller baits, maybe drop it down to a 3-aught, but 5-aught's working pretty good. And throughout the summer as we go on, we'll move up to about a 7-aught. Work the drop-offs in your grass beds. Definitely use this when you're fishing those grass beds and drop-offs. Make sure when you cast that live bait out there, just don't set it in a pole holder or just hold it. Kind of keep your tip up. Give it really quick little live twitches. It does two things. It'll keep the bait hiding in the grass, and it also makes it come up and down, make a move. That chatter weight will pop a little bit like that, make some more noise, so it'll attract the trout. And when you get that bite, you'll feel that thump. You got to kind of bend to them, give them a little bit of line, or if not, if you're using an open face reel spinner, just go ahead and open the bail, let them take a little extra line. Or if you're using a bait catcher, go ahead and free spool and let them take a little bit like that. When you get a little run going like that, go ahead and set the hook and it'll be on. Got a picture of a good trout here for Mother's Day. He had a BDS Outfitters. His wife, Dee Dee Rodriguez, hadn't fished in 2 years, and they sent me a good picture for Mother's Day, so I thought it was appropriate from the past weekend there. Moving on.
Looks good.
Fishing, which we don't have a great amount of flounder down here in the lower coast. Kind of can be difficult, but when tournament time comes, or if you get done with your trout or reds, whatever you want to do, or if you just love flounder fishing, it's look for your sandy bottom next to grass line or washouts, especially some guts with these higher tides. A lot of these guts that sometimes are dry, they're going to have some water with them, and they'll be flowing out like that. Look for small mullet or shad or any glassman or stuff like that, kind of shimmering through the water in those areas. If you see that, there's a good chance those flounder are down there, and they'll actually roll up. I've seen them actually jump out of the water in some of those flats, attacking the bait and stuff like that. When you go to that, use a heavier jig head. Go to a 1/4 to 3/4 ounce jig head. And I've been using lately here that Fight Club Dirty Boxer TKO. It's made by Fish Bites. This stuff is scented, has a curly tail. Throw that out there with the current. You kind of just let it bump along the bottom, off the grass lines, let it bump through there, work through like that. You're going to feel a hard thump. When you feel that thump, don't set right away. Kind of give it a little bit of time for that flounder. He might thump it a second time. Same thing, kind of give it a little bit, set the hook, and get him in there and have a dip net. If you don't have a dip net, if you're on a bank fishing, slide him up against the bank there. But got a beautiful picture here. I had a Captain Charlie Buchan, Tail Chaser Charter, sent me this pic, and it's Dr. Ken Ellis with a good-looking flounder there.
All right, let's go offshore, bub.
Yeah, offshore. I've had some. It's been really, kind of scattered to get out there, but I've had some great reports out of South Padre Island. Wahoo, they've been aiming from that 300-foot range out to 1,000-foot. Look for the color changes and rips and stuff like that. Pulling the Islander out. The favorite color on that one is black and purple. If you're looking for this stuff, rig them with the ballyhoo. If the water's kind of off color and you think it might be flipped a little bit like that, actually attach a planer to that and put that thing down a little deeper. You might get some better luck also. Speaking about deeper, go to a mirror lure, 25-foot diver. This also works really, really good on that stuff like that. And if you're using this and you're targeting your wahoo, at least go to a number 8 or 9 wire. with these lures, since, they're really toothy and stuff like that. Troll them at 7.5, 8 knots, and then watch your baits real good. If you got that mirror lure or anything else on a planer down like that, and you see that planer pop off, but the fish don't get hit, check your baits, especially if you're putting a value back there. A lot of times they short strike it. You got a picture on the Who Dat out of South Padre. You got a Wahoo, that's a Gavin McIntyre that they brought in this past couple days. Also, moving on to the bill fishing, talked to Mike Walker, Saltwalker Sports Fishing. They went out deeper also. They caught a couple Wahoo and went to the bill fishing. They're pulling full spread and stuff like that. So pull out get your 2 flat lines, get your riggers out, your center rigger, and put some islanders on there also. Rig ballyhoo. I like using those on the riggers, center rigger. And then the flat lines, use some chuggers, super plungers, and stuff like that. Work really good. If you're getting out there in those rougher conditions, kind of windy, on those flat lines, get a flat line clip on the back down there. That'll help your lines keep a little bit flatter, close to the water, keep your baits working a lot better like that. If you don't have that, get a heavier rubber band, maybe attach it to your reel on the flat line clip, and that'll keep your baits working really well also. You'll be a lot more effective in keeping it in there. And make sure to keep an eye out, of course, when you're bill fishing, especially have somebody watching the water real well. Look for the shadows, look for any billfish or slaps or action and stuff like that. And we had a saltwalker, Mike sent this to me after a couple of Wahoo. They got a good picture here of a nice blue marlin release.
All right, man, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Garmin Lower Coast region. Chad says that inshore, the trout bite has been good out of Port Mansfield on live croakers around the Saucer and Green Island. Try for some flounder along the guts and washouts in the Lower Coast, and then offshore. The canyon out of South Padre Island has had some billfish releases and some wahoos holding along the rips and temperature changes, Brie.
All right, Sam Rayburn and Toledo Bend are on fire in the Star-Tron Middle Fresh region, and your guide, Matt Loescher, is going to help you capitalize on that. Talk to us, Matt.
All right, Brie. Yeah, we've got a ton of rain lately. It's been kind of crazy weather up here as well. The water levels on Sam Rayburn and on Toledo Bend have jumped way up, pretty much in all the lakes in the Middle Fresh region. But both these lakes are above pool level right now. And over on Rayburn, the shad are spawning, so that high water is getting them up around the grass and the bushes. So a whiter black frog skipped in there around that stick stuff is always going to be a great choice for that kind of bite early in the morning. I like a white one on the brighter days, and a black one when it's cloudy or raining like it has been this past week. So just kind of fish the conditions there. The shad spawn is a really early morning deal, though, so just make sure you get out there at dawn to take full advantage of that. And then there's also a bit of an offshore bite taking place over on Sam Rayburn, out in the mid-range depth, about 8 to 15 foot deep. A crankbait like Rapala DT16 in a shad pattern is the perfect bait for this. These fish are usually pretty aggressive this time of year once they first get out there like that. But if they aren't biting the chunk and line, fast-moving stuff, then drag a bass assassin worm through there and watermelon red or in June bug, because if the fish are around, they'll hardly ever turn down that worm. So just kind of rotate through those baits. The fish are biting real good over there right now. Get in on that. And then over on Toledo Bend, the shad are still spawning as well. So the same pattern with the frog applies over here too. But just like I mentioned before, it's an early morning deal, so look for the birds and stuff along the bank and get out there real early and get those early morning bass, especially the topwater bite with the frog. That bite might kind of die on you, throughout the day, especially if it's real calm and sunny. But you can stay in those same areas because the water's so high, it's kind of keeping them up there. We've got a lot of flow through Toledo Bend right now. And just start throwing a same bass assassin worm out in front of the stumps and the trees. The water is starting to fall, so they're not staying way up in that stuff, but just kind of close to the stumps and the trees. And then on the points that are adjacent right there to those shad spawn areas, when they're not chasing the shad up on top as well, just get out there on those points and you'll catch them with the worm. I've got a photo here for you of my fellow guide living the dream, Mr. Dusty Anders. He caught a big old bass this week. That one there was, I want to say it was just 3 or 4 ounces shy of being 10 pounds. So not quite a double digit, but just a beautiful bass out of Toledo Bend this week.
Well, it sure would make me happy, Matt. All right, let's talk about what you got with Mr. Thurman.
Yeah, Mr. Thurman with that specialty guide service up there tells me that his lakes are real high as well, but he's still catching the bass at Richland Chambers pretty good around the bushes and 5 to 10 foot on a brush hog, and then some on a whopper flopper, so a little bit of topwater action too. Next, I'm going to jump over to white bass, The white bass on Toledo Bend everybody has really improved. They're biting just extremely well. It's been really awesome the last few days. The high water and the current and the windy conditions we've had have just kept them biting pretty much all day long. Normally these fish are early morning feeders, but they've just been munching. So look for them in about 10 to 20 foot of water on main lake points and humps around the bait fish. They're always going to be around the shad, and don't waste much time in a spot if you're not getting bit or seeing some activity, because these are very aggressive fish. So when you're on them, it's really catching more than it is fishing. So just keep moving until you find them. The best way to catch them is going to be a jigging spoon in either a silver or a gold color. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about the crappie. They're still biting pretty good on Toledo Bend and on Sam Rayburn, but the submerged cover hasn't been doing quite as good this week because the water's been so high and rising. But the crappie, they like to hang around cover that stands vertically. And especially when the water's rising, they kind of rise up with it. So look for the cover that's closer to the surface, like the stumps and the taller stuff like bridge piling and boat docks to catch those crappie. Because the stuff that's just not quite as tall, like the brush piles and some of those bigger stumps that we like to normally fish, just aren't holding as many fish right now. But as always, they love to eat live minnows. But right now, they're still feeding aggressively. They're recuperating from the spawn. They're fattening back up. And that means they're going to bite a jig really well. A panfish assassin tiny shad in electric chicken or monkey milk is really about the only two colors you need. But because of the dirty water, I have been changing it up just a little bit, getting away from my normal simple methods. And I'm putting some chartreuse, the monkey milk with the chartreuse tail, in that dirty water. And that's been catching them real good. And to finish up here, I've got another photo of a real nice crappie. One of my clients caught this last week. That one there was just over 2 pounds.
That's a nice one. Thank you so much. Great report, Bub. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Middle Fresh region. He said the bass are shallow on Sam Rayburn, Toledo Bend, and Richard Chambers, biting frogs and soft plastics. The white bass are biting spoons on Toledo Bend and 10 to 20 feet on the main lake points and humps. And then crappie are on the bridges and boat docks biting minnows and jigs that he talked about. Monkey milk.
Monkey milk.
I wonder about that. Wonder about monkey milk. I don't know about no monkey milk.
Doesn't sound good, does it?
No, it doesn't. All right, we're taking a look at what's biting in the Middle Coast region next, but Dave's going to tell us the bite know-how at the CCA Workbench for Rigs and Techniques. Dave.
Well, we're going to go offshore and try to catch some tuna fishes, and we're going to tell you what kind of lures to use and what kind of baits too.
Pretty sweet. Doing big
Tunas.
things. We'll be back.
They're good to eat.
Yum, yum.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Garmin, join the club. Sportsman's Adventures, fishing for adventure. And CCA Texas, a leader in marine conservation.
Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 offshore 4-strokes. For those that like their V6 lighter, faster, and stronger. Setting new standards for power, efficiency, speed, and lightweight. Built for the rigors of offshore boating. Packed with Yamaha's legendary reliability. And now Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 4-strokes offer a choice between digital or mechanical controls to match your rigging preference. Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
If you're not a member of Coastal Conservation Association, you need to be. CCA fights on a national and state level for our fishing rights so that our children and grandchildren will have fish to catch today and in the future. CCA, through their habitat programs, create oyster and artificial reefs, as well as many other habitat programs. CCA also each year releases millions of trout, redfish, and flounder, so join myself, Brie, and Dave and become a member of CCA now. Well, we're here at the CCA workbench. Dave, tuna fishes is something that you know a fair amount.
Fair amount. You know,
like catching
I
them
like
and
to
eating
catch
them?
tunas, and I like to. Usually, I'm trying to catch them for bait. I'll be honest with you, because the ones I don't use for bait, I eat. But I do like to catch them.
When you use a tuna fish for bait, you're fishing for some big stuff.
Correct. You're marlin fishing then usually, or you're catching a big yellowfin. We'll talk about that in a minute. You have to go a long ways to get tuna fish in Texas. You know, 100 miles a lot of times. You got to be in 1,500 feet of water to catch yellowfins usually. The floating rigs out there are probably your best bet. To go out there on those floating rigs, those oil and gas rigs out there, because all night they got those lights on, and they're bait fish come to those things. They're little bits of oases out in the middle of a big empty. The ocean is a big empty, and when you find those little bits of life, that's where the bait will be, and then that's where the predator fish will be. So, the best chance of catching these fish is trying to start on a structure of some sort. And, I like to troll for them. There's a lot of things, a lot of baits and stuff that you can use. One thing you have to remember when you're fishing for tuna fish, though, is that they're very visually oriented. They got really good eyesight. They're really color specific sometimes, way more than any other fish, I believe. And they're also very size specific feeders sometimes. Like you'll be a lot of times you'll be out there and you'll see tuna fish busting on the surface and just going crazy eating, and you'll come pulling through there with your big ballyhoos, and you don't get a bite.
Nothing.
And you're wondering, wow, you can see all these tunas, even big ones. They're eating these, eating something. But usually what they're eating is something really small, and that's what they want to eat. So when you come dragging a big, big feather, even a feather this big, sometimes you're not going to get a bite. But if you come through there with some really heavy 60-pound leader and a really strong XXX little live bait hook in a little squid like that with a weight in it, enough to keep it in the water, a lot of times that's enough to trigger a bite. Even a big tuna fish will eat little tiny stuff like that. I mean, I've seen tuna fountains over little tiny little squids this big, or little puffer fish. They will just pile on little things. So you don't have to, you don't have to be all, oh, I can only catch a big tuna fish if I'm using big stuff, because usually what you're going to want to do is you want to go down in size first, to get the bite. And that means with your leader too. Sometimes, it'd be nice if we could use 80-pound, and especially if you're catching big tunas, so you can really put the heat on them. But a lot of times you have to go down to 40-pound or 50-pound to get the bite. And then you have to be a little leery with them and take care of them, because they really fight hard. Now, blackfin tunas, which you can catch them out there in the deep as well. They bite really good at night. Squid, you use a piece of squid to catch them. Cut bait, drifting along if you find a nice weed line out there in the middle of the night. It doesn't even have to be near a rig, but if you mark tunas or the thermocline, you want to keep your baits right above that thermocline. Sometimes everything comes up during the night. Everything comes up, swordfish, everything. There's a big, vast migration from top to bottom in the middle of the night. So the tunas really start feeding really good at night, even yellowfin tunas. So if you're out there with your baits right above that thermocline, you're going to get a bite out of them.
So what are you going to do? You're going to catch some live baits?
Yeah, use some sabiki rigs. If you're out there on that a big floating rig or something, you'll see the bait around, and you'll mark them on your screen, and they'll eat sabikis usually. Little jacks, any kind of white baits that are out there. If you want to catch a great big tuna, though, a big tuna, like a 3 or 4 pound tuna, is a good bait for a big tuna. A 3 or 4 pound skippy, or even a little blackfin tuna, you bridle him up and put him out there. If you see 110 pound tunas jumping around, or 150 pound tunas, a 100 pound tuna can eat a 10 pound tuna. They're almost like a billfish. About 10% of their weight they can eat in one bite. So, they can take a pretty good sized bait. But a lot of these blackfin tunas, you don't have to go as far. You can, especially during the spring and the summer times when the shrimpers are out there, you can get up on the shrimping boats and get behind those shrimp boats and start chumming as they're chumming, and you can move those fish from their boat to yours. And once you do that, once you get the fish chumming up behind your boat, then you can pick out the black fins from the bonitas and whatnot and start feeding them individual fish. You know, you can throw poppers at them, you can throw a fly at them. When you got them all boiled up behind the boat, those little jigs work great for them when they're up and eating in all that chum and stuff. And they're so much fun. You're gonna have to, you know, make sure you have some pretty stout gear when you're catching, you know, tunas are 30 pounds and up. And, you know, this, you know, big spinning reel with 30-pound braid on it will be plenty, you know, because you're usually not putting more than 10 pounds of drag on it with a spinning reel anyway.
Yeah, the Akuma Azor with 80,
right?
80. I think this is 65, but we would use an 80 normally.
Correct.
Loaded up with some Suffix 832. Would you say 65 or 80-pound braid?
I like to use 65-pound because you're never going to put that much drag to break 65-pound braid, you know, right. Not with a spinning reel. So use as light as you can, again, to try to get the bite. Make sure you put a top shot of mono and then go to your fluorocarbon so that you have a really good stealthy approach, because they can see really well.
All right, stealthy approach. That would be all about our blonde girl over there. What do you think?
I knew that was coming my way, stealthy approach. Okay, our Middle Coast region, Captain Bink Grimes has your inshore and offshore report on Matagorda Bay, Rockport, Port Aransas, and so much more. So listen up, anglers.
All right, our summer pattern for trout is developing with highs in the upper 80s. Nighttime temps are in the high 60s. It actually got to 90 this week. And our waiting for trout over sand and grass. We're working the flats near the passes around strong tidal flow, and that's really been the ticket. Drifters in East Matagorda Bay had a tough time with the wind, but those willing to grind have at least a chance at one big trout every day. Those big trout eat in dirty water. You just have to keep putting that bait in front of them. Then the waders in East Bay, they've had a tough time with a consistent bite, even with live bait. The fluctuation of water temperatures from rainfall that we've had here in Texas, it kind of determines when those trout will bite on those shorelines, those bigger fish. But the waders in West Bay, they've been seeing a lot of little minnows on the shorelines, and they've been eating smaller topwaters and soft plastic. Then the waders in Port O'Connor, they've been working the flats adjacent to Pascavallo. Water levels have been higher than normal right now in the morning due to we've had a lot of low pressure and a lot of storms here in Texas, and so that really pushes our tides up. Lots of shrimp, shad, pogies, and small minnows are riding that tide. And a lot of those fish are slicking right off the shoreline. The slicks are popping right tight to the shoreline, and that's when you know those fish are feeding. In Rockport and Port Aransas areas, Mud Island and Super Flat have been good for trout on, sheep pups, she dogs, top dogs. Sand and grass humps around St. Joe Island has been good for waders on the same baits. A few bait camps are starting to stock live croakers, and many are tossing beginning to toss the live fin fish on sand and grass holes there in Rockport, around Trailer Island, and in Port Aransas around East Flats on the incoming tide. And then around Palacios, those reefs there, Hotel Point, are holding trout on live shrimp. And then Half Moon Reef has been a mainstay. But what's happened lately, our winds have blown really, really hard. So it's an open bay reef. It's hard to fish when winds are 15 knots or better. So, but anytime we get 5 to 10 or knots, we head to that reef. There's a photo there of a couple that spent their second anniversary with me. They decided to make a wade in West Matagorda Bay, and it paid off. And that lady there, she likes to throw topwaters.
Wow, I like it. Good for her. All right, what else we got?
And we got the redfish in Matagorda. Guide Michael Roth, he saved many days here lately, those windy days, chasing reds in the back sloughs and bayous because of the high tides. Maverick Bayou, Hidden Bayou, Green Island, and Piling Slough, they all have little clusters of shell along the shoreline, and it's holding clean water even when the wind's gusting to 20 knots. Then in Freeport, Matagorda, Port O'Connor, and the Port Aransas jetty, holding lots of redfish this time of year. There's lots of white shrimp on the beachfront, and because a lot of those Gulf boats are dragging out there, and so when those shrimp are on the beachfront, they're also at the jetty, and it's been good for a lot of big reds. Then Captain Kendall Curse, he's been working the tip of the jetty on crankbaits in about 8 to 12 foot of water and catching good slot size reds. And then in Rockport, Rhett Price, he's working those flats in the back lakes around Rockport and Port Aransas. Those able to fish afternoon until dark. Those reds are moving shallow in the afternoon on the shoreline. They're eating those small glass minnows up there. And then in Matagorda, got Tom Brown. He said there's lots and lots of shrimp moving to the back lakes, and those redfish are following them with all those high tides. We'll go offshore. Michael Quebeca said the Dorado been good while they're trolling the rips and about 60 miles out, in about 250, 300 foot of water. There's lots of weed lines out there this time of year, he said, and there's also some wahoo to 30 pounds trolled, 6 to 7 knots while trolling ballyhoo. Nighttime swords are coming up, just like Dave said a while ago, drifting the hilltops and domes during the day, and then nighttime they're coming up. Most of those fish, they've been in the 100-pound range. They're about 80 miles out. Lots of yellowfins hanging around the platforms. Again, those floating platforms, just like Dave said, 110 to 120 miles off the coast. And then Port Aransas, lots of red snapper and kingfish and wahoo and amberjacks in state waters. Water temps are getting closer to 80 by the day. Like I said, we had 90 degrees this week, our afternoon highs. So, those pelagics are coming closer. It hadn't been an easy ride out there on the big pond. It's been rough, but seas are going to get better. Those fish are there just waiting for us.
All right, thank you so much, Bink. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the CCA Texas hotspots. He says trout are good while wading the super flats near Port Aransas on sheep pups and bass assassins, and the redfish are good on Estes Flats near Rockport on live bait and small top waters.
He's so positive. I love it.
Yes.
Waters are going to get better. Fishing's going to get better.
Yeah,
I love it.
he knows. He's
All right.
been doing it a long time.
Well, Rick, before you know it, the kids will be out of school. The kids. I have a kid.
I know.
I know, that's crazy.
I got to.
So instead of having to look for ways to entertain them, why not have fun and win a life-changing scholarship? The Star Tournament has given away over $6.5 million in scholarships and is giving away $325,000 again this year. Youth ages 6 to 17 enter for free with their $10 CC membership. So get everyone registered and get out to claim your kid's scholarship or your new boat. CCA, always doing good things, even for the kids.
Absolutely.
And why not get out in the
That's
summertime and take them fishing and you could win scholarships and money?
and fishermen members.
The next generation.
Here we go.
All right, hang on tight, y'all. We're headed to North Texas, seeing what the Upper Fresh and Upper Coast regions have to offer. So make sure to stick around and remember to see what we're up to and everything fishing in Texas. Make sure to visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, watch us on YouTube, and check us out on Instagram. We'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, always in the game. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. CCA Star, fishing fun for giant prizes and scholarships. And Project Smokehouse, a link above.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO offshore.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left. There's no cycle.
When it comes to sail fishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Today's power pole tip of the week is about, does the power pole add a lot of weight to the transom of the boat? And simply, guys, it doesn't. Now we're talking about a bracket that weighs anywhere between 5 and 7 pounds, and depending on the model that you get, our micro is 7 with the blade, 10-foot blade, being 27 pounds. So simply, we're not going to add a lot of weight. You're not going to change the draft of the boat. You're not going to have to re-prop your boat. And more importantly, the pumps have been mounted in the floor so that they're out of the way and not on the transom. So many times when we add weight to the boat, it affects the performance, and that's not going to happen by adding 2 power poles. So if you have any questions whatsoever, you can either go online to powerpole.com or you can go down to your local dealer. And that's today's Power Pole Tip of the Week. You know, up or down, Power Pole's got it all going on.
Power Pole's got it all going on. All right, Lake Fork and Tawakoni are making a splash in the Yeti Upper Fresh region. So Johnny, go ahead and give us the details.
Hello, Rick and Bree.
How you doing there, Johnny?
Well, doing pretty good. Kind of under weather with all this rain we got. But, hey, Lake Fork's, as you know, is known for big bass, but we got another type of bass that's hard fighter and fun to catch on Fork, and that's our big old large white bass. Call them sand bass here in Texas. They're finally back in good numbers on Fork. The big schools of whites had disappeared last summer. Man, we couldn't find them anywhere. Throughout the summer and the fall, kept looking and looking. Don't know where they migrated to, but they're finally back now, and we're catching them in some big numbers. There's several sizes of whites that schooled up. They're feeding on threadfin shad. The smaller hand-sized white bass are feeding on the smaller threadfin, but I'm catching some large magnum-sized ones, 2 to 2.5 pounds, on a 4-inch sea shad by Bass Assassin. Using a white silver plastic one called Sugar and Spice, and the fishing on the Assassin on a 3/4 ounce jig head is working real good. Using 10-pound line allows that heavy jig to fall quickly to the bottom in the 20-25 foot range where they're holding. And if you vary your retrieve a little bit, you'll find out the best way to get bit on almost every cast. Sometimes they want a slow, steady retrieve. That might work best, and sometimes they want a little stop and go or jigging action, but just keep working till you find out what's biting, and that'll way you'll fill the boat up. I've been using a 5-wire Alabama rig with that, letting customers have a little fun with that, where they can catch multi-large sand bass on one cast. Not uncommon to catch 3 or 4 of them on one cast, and that's a pretty good pull when you're putting in that many sand bass. Another great lure to use to catch all sizes of white is a small 1-ounce slab of lead. It's in silver and white color. Pop that lead off the bottom, and the sand bass hit it on the fall. You got to really pay attention, because a lot of times they'll stop it on the way down. If your line don't fall, you've got one of them. But be sure to watch your line. Try to feel that hit when it falls back to the bottom. Whites are very quick on that bite, but if you able to watch your line or feel it the instant they bite and set the hook, you'll catch them every time. I got a picture here of a trip last week. Customer is using the Alabama rig. He's got 3 big ones on at one time. It just takes a little while to unhook all of them, and I've probably caught more than a single jig, but he's catching them, having fun.
I need to send you a D-hooker, hump up.
That's right, man.
All right.
Hey, over on Tawakoni, man, they're having a spring to of all time this year. The Tawakoni hybrid bass, that's the species of striped bass that are fighting the best right now, and they're the most fun to catch for me. They're a cross between the white bass and the striped bass. They go real quick, and they fight harder than any freshwater fish. It's almost like catching a 10-pound bluegill. Guides Joe Reed and Matt Cartwright are busy putting their customers on some big hybrids daily, as well as limits of sand bass and stripers, so you can get a lot of fish in a quick in that lake right now. Most days you can expect fast action all morning, and it gets very hectic when you can get in on a big school of hybrids. Watch for the seagulls. They'll give away the large schools of breaking fish, but then you have to use your electronics if the gulls aren't working that day to find them bunched up when they're down. When a large school of feeding fish is located and you get in them, it doesn't take long for several boats to move in on the action. So be sure, if you're one of the other boats coming in on the action, you move in on your trolling motor. Don't charge in with your big motor and break up the school. That'll scatter the school, mess up the fun for everyone. So ease in on the action and enjoy the catch. The fish chase a shad. Usually moving into the wind, so be sure you try and stay upwind with schooling activity without breaking in on the action. Several different lures are working great over there, but usually a heavy paddle tail, such as the Bass Assassin on a heavy jig head, real quickly through the school will get you bit. You can also throw a heavy slab over there and work it quickly through the feeding fish. I like to use the topwater bait if I'm by myself, but it just takes too long to unhook the fish and get back in action when you got a boatload of customers. So fishing can't get any better than it is on Tawakoni right now. So if you're looking for some great guides, check out Joe Reed or Matt Cartwright and give them a call. Joe shared this picture here with a group of combat warriors last week, and there were several guides on the trip, but as you can see, they had a lot of fish cleaning to do, and looks like those guys are going to have a fish fry coming up soon.
Dang, that's a heap of fish there, bub.
Hopefully the heavy rains let up, man. We've got enough of them here in Texas, and all our lakes are high right now. It's been a challenging spring this year, but the rest of May and June are great months for fishing in North Texas. So start making your plans, get out on the water, and enjoy our beautiful lakes this summer. Invite the kids along, get over here on Fork now. Be sure we get them on some good sand bass action.
All right, Johnny, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the upper fresh hot spots. He says Lake Fork, the white bass are biting good in the windy points. Use silver slab and small swim baits. And then Lake Tawakoni, paddle tail swim baits and heavy slabs are catching numbers of hybrids. Use topwater baits for the big ones. Always the topwater bait for a big one.
Always. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
Tawakoni, you got it.
Tawakoni, I got it.
You got it.
I didn't get thrown off on
Nope.
the words.
All right, in the Fish Bites Upper Coast region, Trinity Bay and Middle Bay are sounding like a pretty good bet this weekend. So, Captain Carl, let's hear the rest of the fish story.
Hello, Rick. Hello, Brie.
Hey, Carl. What's going on, buddy?
Well, it looks like redfish. We got some redfish back in Trinity Bay on the shorelines up in Jack's Pocket and North Ridge. Been drifting mud flats and scattered clamshell in about 2 foot of water. Has been the best. The water's clear. We're throwing a mirror lure marshmallow, soft plastic, or a gold spoon. But if the water is stained, a 4-inch Bass Assassin shrimp rigged about 18 inches under a popping cork can be dynamite. Those fish can hear the cork rattle and zone in on that lure, no matter how nasty the water is. And fishing in front of the bayou mouse, adjacent to the mud flats, are a great area to focus on right now. I believe we got a picture here of a customer with a nice redfish.
Tell me about it. What you got? The 2 big redfish. It looks good, man.
Yes.
I'm laughing at myself because I was holding up the plastic shrimp, Carl, and it jumped out of my hands. All right, tell me about the trout fishing, bub.
Well, the trout fishing is in the Middle Bay has been hot for trout, and it'll do nothing but get better and better as the summer continues. And we're starting to see some pushes of the tide runner fish coming in, and these tide runners are our new recruitments of the migratory trout that come in from the Gulf. This migration starts every year around the beginning of May. So drifting the oyster reefs are always a good player, but it also seems like there's still quite a few fish on the shorelines too. Look for those visible bait or slicks on the shoreline around points and drains. And once you find those fish, power pole down and stand on them, because it seems like these fish are in pretty tight little schools right now. And so these trout have been suspended right underneath the surface. So keep your jig heads light and don't stop turning that reel handle. You're throwing a small 1/16 ounce Crow Elite Bass Assassin jig head. Chartreuse has been the color this week, so tie on a mirror lure Little John and Chartreuse Ice or Chartreuse Glitter, and they'll be all over it.
All right, let's go offshore.
All right. Yellowfin are showing up the floaters this time of year. Boom Bang and Nansen are our offshore rigs we talk about to the south. They're approximately 125 miles offshore of the Surfside jetties. We've had, good reports coming in, so when the weather permits, be ready to head out. Chunking, as always, is the most popular tactic at the floaters. Chopping herring and shad into small chunks, and then chumming with them as you drift around the rigs. Use a 5 to 6 aught live bait hook tied to about 4 foot of fluorocarbon, and then simply drift your bait out with the chum and hold on. Because you hook up with a yellow, you'll know it quick. We have a pic here of Trey McCummon with a nice yellowfin caught at Nansen.
Dang, that looks good. Those sickles look good. All right, what about some blackfin tuna action?
Well, if there's yellowfin, there's blackfin, and blackfin tuna are always at the floaters nearly all season. And as you start to chunk for yellows, you're more likely to catch blackfin first, closer to the rigs, in around the 200-foot range at first, and then you'll see them coming up closer to the surface. You might want to downsize to a 4/0 hook with the same fluorocarbon leader and a chunk of shad. You can also use a small butterfly jig. They work great. And we've got a picture here of blackfin caught close to one of the floaters.
All right, Carl, before we go, I got a question for you. My question is, when you're working that vertical jig, that Williamson butterfly jig, how do you like to typically work it?
I drop it straight down. I'll let it run for 5, 6, 8 seconds, and then I'll stop and I'll burn it back to the surface pretty fast. And then I'll go deeper until I find the fish. And then once I find the fish, I just repeat that. I drop it down, count till I know I'm in the right depth, and I turn around and burn that jig to the surface as fast as I can, and you won't outrun those blackfin.
So Brie has a cool trick. She loves using the Suffix metered line, which is colored a different color every 25 feet. Do you use that on the tuna fishing at all?
Yes, we have, and that works great.
All right, well, make sure we send you some of that new stuff that Suffix has, and I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the mirror lure hotspots from the Upper Coast region. He says inshore redfish at the back of Trinity Bay on the shorelines in Jack's Pocket, Alachua Pocket, is that right? Did I say that right? Anahuac Pocket,
Yep.
and Northridge drifting with mirror lure, marsh minnows, soft plastics, if the water is clear, and a 4-inch bass, sass, and shrimp under a popping cork if the water's stained. And then offshore, yellowfin tuna on the Boom Vang and the Nansen floaters. You ain't getting Nansen. Using chunk herring or shads, drift the 6/0 live bait, hook tied on the 4-inch fluorocarbon. These big words.
Oh my goodness.
You getting Nansen.
You getting Nansen. All right. We're headed to one more region next, and that's the lower fresh region. So stay tuned, especially because
Why can't they name it like Murphy's Law?
I don't know, because Dave's got some goodies. Dave, new products. What we got over there?
Nansen.
Well,
he ain't got Nansen.
I don't have Nansen. But I've got this, and I don't know exactly what a bass thinks it is. I just know they hate it and they love to eat it. So we're going to talk about the Nico. A new Nico rig.
Nico mustache rig.
A mustache, yeah, exactly.
We'll be right back with Nansen.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yeti, built for the wild. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a mirror lure. Building Conservation Trust, CCA's National Habitat Program, and StarTron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems.
At the pinnacle of super high output, 4-stroke outboard performance, you'll find Yamaha VMAX SHO. Yamaha's game-changing SHO technology. From exhilarating V6 models to the sleek inline 4s, there's a VMAX SHO for everything from bass to bonefish. It's an extended family of 4-strokes engineered for lightweight, inspiring performance, and rock-solid reliability. Discover VMAX SHO and elevate your expectations.
Oh, there it is. You can either stay busy fishing or get busy catching. From Texas to Tampa Bay or Key West to the Carolinas and beyond. For nearly 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites. Ask for Fish Bites and Fish Bites Fight Club lures by name or visit fishbites.com.
Over 40 years ago, Mr. Proshek began smoking meat in a little Texas town called Hilgi, combining fresh, grade A ingredients to create a variety of legendary smoked meats. Today, Proshek's Smokehouse is a Texas tradition, and now Proshek's not only satisfies hunger in Texas, but across the country. Visit Prosheks.com and order everything from fresh meats to your choice of jerky. Proshek's meats are made by Prosheks, sold by Prosheks, and can be delivered in as little as a day. Proshek's Smokehouse, a link above.
know, Dave, we get to have a lot of fun over here at the CCA workbench.
We get to eat a lot of good food now.
Process
is a
smoked
sponsor.
jerky during the commercial break. I'm starving.
Yeah.
So tell me, we got a new collection of.
Well, these are the Costa Ticos. You know, I think they're named after the fellows in Costa Rica down there. And these, you know, they got an all-day wrap around them so that they really cover your face up real good. They have chiseled temples. You know, really nice looking. It's a medium-sized frame. You know, fits you perfect actually, and me too. I don't have a great big head, so I like to have a smaller frame. I have a big face, but a small head. But anyway, they have little temple icons here. A good place to put your holders on. They suggest that you get a loop retainer for these, and you know they have vented nose pads. If you look inside there, they have these nice, they have little vents inside that keep you from fogging up your glasses, especially when you're wearing a mask or something. 100% UV protection, obviously. They're Costas, so you know you're going to get really good vision out of them. Internal hinges inside with a cam system. Those are the blue mirror glass, and we also in the matte black.
Yeah, and they're obviously the gray lens, so it would be perfect for your offshore.
Right, and this is the new. It's a matte called the wetlands. You know, the
wetlands.
Matte, yeah, it's kind of like a camo.
And it has
very subtle camo.
A copper lens,
correct,
as you can tell, with it looks like I don't know, a light green.
It's amber,
reflected.
Yeah.
So,
but really nice. Costa Ticos, they're the new.
Great warranties, as you know. It comes with a little carrying case and everything.
Get you some Costas.
Little eye cleaner.
Next we have some mirror lures here. These are the new mirror lure suspending twitch baits with, it's called the Skin series. And you can tell by looking at them, they're different from the regular mirror lures because they look like the fish. They look exactly like the fish they're trying to imitate. That's the shad and the pilchard there. And you know, these are the 2 5/8 3 ounce and a 3 1/8 9/16 ounce. These things are, you know, they'll go down like 2 feet and suspend naturally, and you just twitch. Everything will eat it. You know, they're pretty much a Mirrodine with a really nice finish on them.
Right.
And everything eats the Mirrodine, and that's the CI's mirror lure suspending twitch bait. All right, next we have the Prasix smokehouse jerky. You know, these guys have been making smoked meats and stuff since 1974 in Hilgi. They have a really good dried products as well that'll last a long time. They have dried sausage and their jerkies, which will, you know, you can put it in your tackle box or leave it on your boat for a long time. You don't even have to worry about it.
They've got a whole bunch of different flavors. Jalapeno.
75 different smoked meats, 80, you know, fresh baked goods. You can order it all on, just about all of it online, you know, Pressix.com. And if you use the TIFR, TIFR and the code, you get 10% off. So get that Prasix. It's good stuff.
Let's do this one.
Okay, we're gonna do the Rod Runner. The Rod Runner racks are really cool because they come in singles or groups of 3. And what's really cool about these is you mount these little blocks, and then these things slide on and off. So you can mount these blocks anywhere on your boat with zip ties and/or the screws that come with it. And once you get them where you want them, you can put the rod holders on them. And you, like I said, you can do 2s and 3s or just the singles. I zip tied one to my deck chair, up front, and that's an extra rod holder. And you can also use them in their house. You can hang them on the wall, you can hang them on the ceiling, you know, with the bungees holding them in. They're not going to go anywhere. Up to 80 pounds, you know, you can put on there. So they're pretty cool.
I want to go back to something.
Yeah,
on
sure.
this mirror lure, they have obviously different sizes.
Right.
They have in the eye ring in the nose there.
Mm-hmm.
So would you tie that on straight to the hook, or would you tie it on with a loop knot, and then how would you twitch it?
Well, everybody that you ask would say, yeah, I tie a loop knot on it. I don't, because I'm lazy and I like to tie a knot straight to the top, and I twitch it just like I would, you know, just bing, yeah. You know, let it sink 2 feet and twitch. I don't stop it very much. I like to keep it moving because, you know, if they get a good look at it, sometimes they won't eat it. They'll probably eat these anyway because these look right, you know. So, but you know,
silhouettes are the first
correct. I just don't.
Choice.
You know, I'm pretty lazy about tying the loop knot. That's just laziness.
Speaking of a silhouette, look at our girl over there looking like a beauty that she is.
And look at the men over there eating the jerky.
Yes.
Better leave some for me.
Yes.
Speaking of, the biggest Prospect Smokehouse Lower Fresh region is now up, and Matt Reed has the info on Choke Canyon, Lake Travis, Somerville, Stillhouse Hollow, and more. Matt, you've got a lot of water to cover, and I hope you have some Prospect's jerky to get you through.
Well, you know, that stuff is great, but it's hard to chew that and do the report. So,
All right, tell us what you got going on, Matt. Let's get with it.
Let's get with it. I've got a largemouth bass report. We're going to start off at Choke Canyon Reservoir. Mike Bates has sent me a report from there that says the lake is starting to move into the summer pattern. The hydrilla is starting to top out on the surface. It's starting to mat a little bit where you can visibly see it. Early in the morning, there's a good top water bite on the edge of that grass, on the inside edge and the outside edge. Throw a top water, a buzz bait, a frog, or a lipless crankbait. You can catch a lot of fish early in the morning. Beginning about mid-morning, those fish have quit feeding on top. You want to pick up a Texas rig or a Carolina rig soft plastic along the outside edge of the grass. It'll be really soon that you'll need to start punching a heavy weight through that matted hydrilla and try to catch them under it when they're in there in the shade. That hadn't started yet, but it should start any day. Moving on over to the Austin area, Brian Cotter with Texas Hogs has sent me the reports from Lake Travis. Lake Travis is fishing really well right now. The bass are starting to school a little bit, which is a lot of fun. You can catch a bunch of them on top waters. Top water walking baits. If they're not on the surface, you can catch them on a shad-looking swim bait or also a wacky style, Cinco type bait in watermelon or green pumpkin. That bite's becoming a lot of fun. Move on to Stillhouse Hollow. It's fishing pretty good right now. They're catching them around the hydrilla. Throwing a Carolina rig baby brush hog or a fluke. On that outside edge, throw it up into the grass a little bit, drag it out toward the outside edge. Also, you can catch them on a Texas rig, big 10-inch worm with like a quarter-ounce weight, just kind of swimming it through that hydrilla. Catch a few on crankbait as well. If you want to kind of bonus fish while you're bass fishing, move those rock ledges and walls. Pick you up a jig, and you can actually catch an occasional smallmouth there at Stillhouse Hollow. We don't have many of those in Texas, but that lake has a few. Moving to kind of the eastern portion of my region, Greg Boyk with Angler's Angle Guide Service. That's a tough one. Sends me a report from Somerville. Lake Somerville is actually closed right now. It's about 15 feet high. All ramps are closed, so don't drive down there expecting to go fishing. Fayette County, the bass are biting really well early along the reeds and the submerged vegetation on top water frogs and buzz baits. After that, you want to move out on the main lake points in that 15 to 18 foot range with a Carolina rig. Throw a creature bait or a Cinco style bait on your Carolina rig. They're also biting a trick worm on a shaky head or even a Ned rig on real light line. But the better fish have been out on that deep water in that 15 to 18 foot range. Lake Falcon is fishing crazy good right now. I'm getting reports of 100 fish days again. I can't wait to get down there. I go back tomorrow. It's my favorite time of year. There's a couple of patterns working extremely well right now. Early mornings, you can take a square bill crankbait on the rocky shallow points and get the day started off with a bang. Then move out to the mid-lake rock and throw you a Carolina rig, a Texas rig, or a football jig, and find those groups of fish in that 10 to 20 foot range and catch a bunch. So that's a lot of fun. Got a picture there of a big old falcon bass. That's what I can't wait to get my hands on again in the next day or so.
Woo. All right, tell us about the catfish quickly, though.
Catfish on the upper end of Falcon has been crazy. We've got some rain. The river's coming up. There's some giant blue cats really active. You use cut carp or big gizzard shad to catch the fish of a lifetime. Ram Reyes with Texas Kings Outdoors has been just killing them. That picture there is a giant blue he caught the other night on a trip. That's a 60, 70, 80-pound blue cat.
All right, thank you so much, Matt.
In a hurry.
So thank you very much. I appreciate everything. Great report this week. And guys, don't forget that we have Prosex Smokehouse. If you guys want to take advantage of a promo code, you go to prosex.com, you want to order some stuff, and you can use the promo code TIFR. All right, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the lower fresh region. He says that Falcon Lake, the catfish bite is on fire, and the rising water level in the river has triggered a great bite on the rock drops and with cut carp and gizzard shads. Get some heavy tackle because you might catch a monster blue cat and hurry before the river current slows
That was a
down.
monster.
That was a monster. All right. Got my Prosex.
Speaking of monster, hey guys, man, just
Yeah.
go online and they have their full catalog Prosex. They have all kinds of meats, mubs, rubs. We have prepared chickens. They got quail, bison,
Pork chops.
venison, pork
Everything.
chops,
Bacon.
you name it.
And you know what?
Prosex.com.
I know Mother's Day just happened, but Father's Day
Yeah,
is coming
man.
up. That'd be such a good
Hey,
gift.
get some
Daddy,
meat
get
for
some
your
meat
man.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
There you
Have
go.
a good week.
That's what I'm talking about. Meat.